Hi everyone. So today I'm going to take you into my daily yoga practice. I hope you like vinyasa style yoga. It's a little bit quicker moving, but not too quick. But this is what I like to do to get my day started. So I call it my feel good yoga flow. We'll start. We'll start standing in mountain. So feet under the hips so we can ground and center ourselves. I like to stand with my palms facing forward so the energy can emanate out into the world through the palms, and then feel the connection going up through the crown as you breathe and down through the feet all the way into the earth, really grounding down into the earth, feeling the weight on all parts of your feet. Breathing full and even. Nice, full, even breaths. Lift all your toes and lower them. And then we'll go into tall mountain. So lifting slowly up onto the toes, onto the balls of the feet, and however far you're able to and hold. And lower the feet down. And then maybe you want to widen your feet just a little bit. I like to for the next, because we're going to be moving a little bit. You can let your arms come up and over the head, perhaps clasping the thumbs here. And we're going to lift tall through the spine and rotate. Look behind you and let your arms come out from the shoulders. Stretch out and then lift back up and center. And then rotate and extend the arms out from the shoulders. Lift back up and center. A couple more times. Rotate and release the arms. Lift back up and center. And rotate. And we're breathing deep and lift back up. Come center. And lifting tall through the spine. Take it all the way up and over to one side. Good. And back to the top. Kind of curling the tailbone under you a little bit. Lift tall and over to the other side. Reaching out and back up. A little back bend, so arms go back, lifting the heart. And back to center. Releasing the arms, we're going to take it down into jackknife and forward fold. Back to jackknife, flat back, and lift up. So a few times with the breath, inhaling, jackknife, flat back, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, up, exhale, all the way up. Good. Inhale, dive forward, exhale, down. Back to flat back and lift. Good. And again, jackknife forward. This time we'll stay down and just relax your hands on the mat. If you're not able to get your hands down all the way, bend your knees a little bit till you can. Also, if you'd like to have a block in front of you to put your hand on, or both hands on, and just relax here. Let your head dangle. Get the legs as straight as you're able to. Lift the tailbone. Maybe clasp your elbows and just dangle. Or keep your hands on the ground. Good. We'll widen the feet apart. Toes facing forward. Good. Bring your hands all the way to the mat here. Lift up onto the fingertips and flatten the back. Good. Looking forward. And relax down. Relax the head. Just let your hips go a little bit over to the right here. And back to center. And a little bit over to the left. And center. With the right hand on the ground or on your block, left hand to the small of the back. You're going to lengthen through the crown, turn your belly, your chest, your shoulders, and reach up. And breathing deep. That hand comes down, other hand to the small of the back, lengthening through the crown, rotating first the belly, then the chest, then the shoulders, and reach up. And allowing that hand to come back down, relax your head, turning the heels in just a little bit to turn the legs out, bend the knees, try to make sure knees are over the toes, and lift up onto hands on the thighs. So for goddess, we're going to take one shoulder in and turn and look up and back. And center. Other shoulder curls in, rotate and look up and back. And center. And lifting the torso, keeping the legs bent for a moment. Just feel the energy in the legs coming up through the earth. And then straightening the legs. If you have a block, if you need a block, make sure it's handy to the side that you're going to be turning to. So we're going to rotate the foot, whichever side you're on, rotate that foot to face forward, and your other foot a little bit in for Virabhadrasana 2. So both arms forward to help us point our hips forward a little bit, and then taking that, swinging that arm back as you come into Warrior 2, lifting the heart, strong arms, strong focus. Lift the heart, breathing in through the pelvis, taking that earth energy in, up through the pelvis. Good, and back down into the earth. Muscles of the legs, hugging the bone, right? Good, and then turning the forward arm, palm up. Let your back arm rest on your leg into Proud Warrior. And coming back up, letting the front arm come down to the thigh. Back arm sweeps up by the ear to that side angle and looking up under the arm. Good. And then let your arm come straight up and your forward arm come down to the ground or to your block with your knee still bent, looking up. We're going to sweep that arm forward, down as we straighten the leg, back up into Trikonasana, triangle pose. Pressing the pelvis slightly forward to keep our alignment. And letting the front leg bend a little bit, pressing back into Virabhadrasana 2. Shoulders relaxed. Let the arms relax down, step forward, and taking our block to the center of the mat, whichever leg was forward in the warrior, you put that foot in front of your block. Bend the knee, hand to the block, lift the back leg, and bring your other hand to the small of your back. Good. So if you're able to reach that arm to the ceiling to come into your Ardha Chandrasana, but you can keep just rested on the small of your back if that's far enough for you. And you're going to hold and breathe. Maybe opening a little bit more letting your gaze slowly go forward just a little bit. And we're going to let that leg bend to come back up to standing. And we'll take the block to the other side. Okay. So for Virabhadrasana 2 on the other side. Okay. Ankles and wrists about that wide apart, right? And then turn to face those toes forward. Back foot turns in a little bit. We bring both arms forward to help us encourage our hip forward, and then swing that arm back as you bend the knee. Right? So deepening in as much as you're able to or you feel like doing today. Lift the heart, strong arms, strong focus. Good. Deep breath. Coming up in through the pelvis and back out into the earth. Maybe deepening in a little bit more into that lunge. And let your back arm relax on your leg. Front palm lifts into proud warrior. Shoulders sinking into the socket here. And back into warrior 2. Front arm comes to the thigh, back arm sweeps up by the ear. And looking up. Always feel free to adjust your feet, right? Just kind of wriggle them around if they need to adjust. And then that top arm straight up. Bring your other hand down to the block or down to the mat. And looking up. We're going to sweep that top arm forward and down as we straighten our leg into Trikonasana. Just encouraging your pelvis a little bit forward to keep the alignment here. And then letting your front leg bend just a little bit to come back into warrior 2. Relaxing the arms, stepping the back foot forward, block to the center of the mat for Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. So foot in front of the block a little ways away, hand comes to the block, other hand to the small of the back, lift that back leg, finding our balance here. And if it's available, we reach our arm to the ceiling. This is my weaker side, so the side that's weaker you might not be able to do in the same way, right, as the other side, the stronger side. And breathe. And then letting that knee bend to come up. And you can move your block off to the side a little bit to the end of your mat. Coming into a squat. So lowering down, knees apart. Pressing your elbows into your knees in prayer. So lifting here, heels coming onto the mat as much as you can, as much as you're able to. Hands to the mat. And we're going into cat-cow. So nice deep breath. Exhale as you round the back. Relax the head. Good. As we inhale, tailbone lifts. Heart reaches forward. Shoulders down. And round on the exhale. And keep going a couple more times with the flow of the breath. Lifting the tailbone. Lifting the heart. And then round. And then moving into a moving cat-cow. So we're going to round and push back to the heels. Bend the elbows, snake through the hands and lift. And round, sit back. Bending to snake through and lift and round back. Good. And then we'll come back up into our table position. Extend the left leg straight back and lift it as you reach your right arm forward. And breathe and hold. Exhale back to the mat, extending the right leg back. Lift as you reach your left arm forward. Maybe you want to point the thumb up. Keeping your gaze slightly lifted here. And breathe. Exhaling back to the mat. Good. And then we'll tuck our toes, pressing into down dog. Lifting the hips, maybe keeping the knees a little bit bent to allow the spine to release and relax. Lift the tailbone, right? So you can get that stretch deeper into the legs, maybe reaching your heels down. You can pedal the heels if you like. And then the right foot comes a little bit in toward the center, and we'll lift our left leg behind us. Maybe you want to bend the knee slightly to open the hip. And then straightening the leg, hips parallel to the mat. We're going to bring that foot up between our hands, extending your right leg back. And lift the heart here. Breathe, allow the back leg to drop down, toes relax, coming up onto the thigh, into Alanasana, crescent lunge. And encouraging your pelvis forward by tucking your tailbone under you. And then hands back to the mat, right hand inside the foot. Maybe you want to lift your back leg, left hand to the small of the back, and you're going to lengthen through the crown and rotate and reach up. And hand comes back to the mat and back into down dog. Relax your head. Left foot to the center, lifting the right leg up. Soft bend of the knee to open the hip, opening up. Straighten the leg so your hips are parallel to the mat. And then bring your right foot between your hands, lifting the back leg. Reach your heart forward. Again, if you need your block, you can always have it inside of that right foot. Good. And then allow your leg to relax down, toes relaxed, and come up onto your thigh. Good. Curling the tailbone under you, reaching up into Alanasana. And then hands come down, left hand inside the foot. Maybe you want to straighten that back leg. Right hand to the small of the back, lengthening through the crown. Rotate and reach up. And deep breath. Bringing that hand back to the mat. We'll press back into down dog. One more time. And then walking your hands a little bit forward to come into up dog. Right? So keeping our legs lifted for a while here. Deep breath. Looking up into that little bit of a back bend. Eventually letting the legs come down, but keep pressing up a little longer here. Breathe. Maybe you want to squeeze your glutes a little bit. And up onto the knees. We'll sit back in a child's pose. So rounding back onto the heels. If you like, you can widen your knees and maybe widen your feet to open the hips. Whatever child's pose you like to do. This is the one I like to do. Good. And breathe here. Get a little hip opening at the same time as you're stretching back. And then coming up and around to a seated position. Now my mat keeps moving, so I might have to adjust my mat every once in a while. But we're going to come onto our back here and bring your legs into this position so that your knees are pretty much lined up over your hips, arms out from your shoulders, legs together. Right? So if you do Pilates, you'll recognize this move. It's also a yoga ab strengthener. So we're going to take our legs slowly to one side as you anchor in through your other shoulder. Right? So your opposite shoulder anchors into the ground and using your exhale to lift. And then take it to the other side. So we're going to go side to side a few times, but make sure that we stop briefly and use your exhale to lift. Stop briefly at the top before starting our next one. So inhaling over to the side, reaching your shoulder into the ground, exhale back up. And if your low back is really feeling this, you can bring your knees a little closer toward your head, right, toward your torso. So inhale to the side, and then exhale up. And then optional, straighten the legs for a couple more. And you can also partially straighten your legs. So your legs don't have to be totally straight. And slowly to one side, using your breath to bring those legs back to the top. Good. Inhale to the side. Good. Exhale. Back. Good. Inhale to the side. Maybe you go a little farther, right, each time. Maybe not. That's okay. Last one. Take it over and exhale back to the top. And at the top, we're just going to take a little rest by hugging our knees and rocking our body. Yeah. Just relax everything. Then bring your feet down. And if you have a block and you need it, have it handy because we're going to do a shoulder stand. You can place the block under your sacrum for an assisted shoulder stand, which means you'll just have your legs up with your block under you like this. So having the legs up like that is really so good for us. If you're doing a regular shoulder stand, you don't need the block. You just bring your legs up and then lift the hips, right? So hands under the hips. So having the legs up in the air, you can even put them against the wall and just lean up against the wall. So make sure you're not putting too much weight on your neck. So be careful if you're going into the full shoulder stand. Be very careful of the neck here. And I like to move my legs when I'm in the shoulder stand, so that's optional. Obviously, it puts a little more pressure if you're taking your leg behind you like that. But it warms me up for my plow. So whatever feels right for you. And then I like to open my legs apart and just let them hang there and move my feet. So if you feel inclined to do that part, you can just kind of move your feet around, circle the ankles. Yeah. And lift them back up. So then slowly bringing it into a plow. If that is something that you're accustomed to doing, please don't do it if you're not accustomed to doing it. So let our hands find our toes here and maybe interlace your fingers into a couple of those bigger bigger toes where it's easier. Careful not to put too much weight on the neck. And breathe. Maybe you want to widen the legs if you're in a plow. So if you're not able to do a plow, you could just stay in whatever shoulder stand you're doing, right? And bring it back together. Good. And then releasing, bringing our arms by our side to slowly roll back down to our hips, right? And just let your legs kind of relax here for a moment. Bend the knees, feet onto the mat. Bringing your feet in line with your hips for a bridge. So take a nice deep breath and relax for just a breath here. And then on your next exhale, bring your hips up off the mat. And if you'd like to bind, you can grab your hands underneath you, working the shoulders down. Or if you prefer to hold on to your ankles, or just have your arms by your side. Right? And just pressing the hips up. Take a couple of nice deep breaths. It's okay to move around when you're in a pose. You don't have to be static all the time. So you need to move your feet or your shoulders to adjust. Good, and then we're going to let our spine articulate down. So I like to articulate when I come down. It's so good for the spine. Slowly all the way down till your hips are on the mat. And then relax the hips for a moment. And we'll bring our legs up again, one at a time, and hold on to your legs. We're going to go into boat pose here. So lifting your head, you just want to press your legs into your hands to help you lift up. Right? Oh, I'm a little close to my table. Okay, so flat back as much as you can, flatten the back, and release. If you're able to, you don't have to release, you can hold on, and you can also straighten your legs, right? So there's all kinds of variations here, but I think it's more important to flatten the back and let your legs be and your arms be wherever they need to be, right, for this pose. So just breathe. Good. And then maybe holding onto the legs to help you come up by putting one foot down and then the other, and bring it all the way up to sitting. Around onto your knees again. We're going to press into a down dog, so tucking the toes and lifting the hips up. Stretching the heels down, maybe pedaling the heels, lifting the tailbone, and take your right foot again into the center and lift your left leg up. And then we're going to take this into a pigeon plank. So you might want to wriggle your hands a little bit forward and bring your knee up and suspend yourself here. Maybe wriggle your back foot a little bit. So you're suspended with your leg ready to go into pigeon. And then eventually bringing that knee down and relaxing your back leg, stretching it back. Good. So we stay up in pigeon for a moment so that we can find exactly where our body wants to go. So maybe you need to lean off a little bit to the side onto your hip. Or if pigeon isn't available for you at all, I recommend you just lie on your back and go into a figure 4 stretch or a piriformis stretch, right? It's the same thing, only no pressure on the knees. So eventually we walk ourselves all the way out, or at least come onto your elbows for a breath. To resting pigeon. And then walk the hands back up for back arching pigeons. So if you're able to hold on to your ankle or your foot here, pull that heel in, rolling your shoulder back. Good. And then lengthening through the crown, we're going to turn and look to the left because that's a really nice stretch. And back to center and release. Tucking the toes, press back into your down dog. Right foot comes in. Bring the left leg up behind you. Well, whichever leg you didn't do. I think I'm on the right leg. And then bringing that knee through into, oops, that's the wrong side. Right leg comes up. Sorry. Right leg up. I'm not going to do it over. Okay, and then bringing that pigeon through, wriggle your foot back, right? So that you can come into plank here. Yeah, and just hold for 5 minutes. No, just kidding. Bringing your knee all the way down, extending your left leg back into pigeon. So finding your pigeon before going into resting pigeon, right? So we let gravity and our breath help us here. Again, you might want to sit off onto your hip a little bit to help your knee. And then eventually coming down onto the elbows or all the way arms in front if you're inclined for that, right? And just breathe. And walk the hands back up into back arching pigeon. So holding on to the foot or ankle if that's available to you, pulling that heel in, letting the shoulder roll back. We're going to lengthen through the crown and turn to the right. Good, I love that stretch. Feels so good. The front of the hip and the thigh. And breathe, coming back to center and go ahead and release. Bring your knee under you onto your knees again. So we won't go into a down dog again. We'll just come back to the mat and we're going to lie down on our back for a nice twist. So that'll be our final thing. So if you want to straighten your left leg, shift your hips slightly over to the left, bring your right knee into your left hand, take it over as your right arm extends out from your shoulder. Good. And just breathe here. If you want to add the second part of this twist, you can bend your left leg and grab hold of that foot. So it's more of a pretzel-y twist. You see my kitty's tail is getting into the show here. Okay, so just take a couple breaths here. And release. Extend, bring the legs up, extending the right leg. Shift your hips slightly over to the left and bring your left knee up, taking it across the body. Left arm out from your shoulder, keeping your shoulder down and breathe. Just enjoy, savoring this little twist here. If you want to add the second part, you can bend. It's called knee down twist. So you bend your leg, grab hold of your foot, and turn yourself into a nice little pretzel. Yeah. Oh. Good, and you can let go of that foot and come back to center. So making yourself comfortable on your back, whether your knees are bent or if you like your legs to be straight, arms out from your side. Just take a few moments to breathe and feel your body. And give gratitude to our physical bodies for carrying us through our day, every day. The heart never stops beating. The lungs never stop breathing. Right? So grateful for the life that courses through us. Nice deep breath. Just relax your body totally as you breathe. And you're welcome to stay in the little Shavasana for longer if you like, or you can come up. I'm going to come up for the sake of the video. We can't lay in Shavasana for 10 minutes, which would be nice. But thank you very much for joining me for this little vinyasa flow. I hope to see you again. And I have to crawl over to the camera to turn it off. Bye for now. Take care.